Alright, hello everyone, welcome to another episode of System Shock Radio, episode 23, of course. As always, as per usual, I'm your host Nigel, and as per usual, we're going to get right into it. So, happy 4th to everyone, and this video is not going to be very long because I want you guys to spend some time with your family today, and we're going to get right into it. So, we're going to start, of course, as per usual. How's everyone's week? How's everyone's day? How's everyone doing? If you're doing great, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you all. And let's start with last week's riddle. So, to recap, last week's riddle was, what travels around the world but stays in one corner? And let's read it one more time. What travels around the world but stays in one corner? So to the answer to that one, pretty easy. It's a stamp. So, of course, put your stamp on the mail for whoever still does that, and mail it off, and it can go around the world to different countries, but it stays in that one corner. Of course, if you have bigger mail, you put more stamps on it. But if you got that one, congratulations to you. But again, not a whole lot of topics because I want to get you guys out of here so that you can spend the day with your family, and we're going to jump right in. So first things first, we are going to talk about Jak 2. So why Jak 2 and not Jak 1? And allow me to explain. So Jak 2 is a video game that came out around 2003 or 04, or I believe it's 2004, yes. But it's a game that's notorious for being difficult and vastly different from its predecessor. So the game that came before that was Jak and Daxter, the precursor legacy, probably one of my favorite games. And Jak 2, when Jak 2 came out, the game was almost unrecognizable from its predecessor. That's not necessarily a bad thing. And in fact, Jak 2 is probably while it's one of the most difficult games, it's one of the best games. When you ask a lot of people, it's lots of fun. The gameplay is nice with the gunplay, and then the vehicle play and adventuring all around Haven City, around the different areas of Haven City. So, why was this so much different from its predecessor, the precursor legacy? So, they did make quite a few changes. So, in the first game, let's start with the first game. We have Jak and we have Daxter. So, Jak is a teenage boy, but he's a mute. So, Jak is a teenage boy from Sandover Village. And with him being a mute, of course, he doesn't talk. And that's why Daxter is there. So, Daxter and Jak have been friends for years. We're talking about the first game here. We're going to jump right into the second game after we kind of set up the first game. But Daxter was kind of the mouthpiece for Jak. But when they traveled to the Forbidden Jungle, no, they traveled to Misty Island, and my apologies. They traveled to Misty Island, and Daxter accidentally fell in a pool of dark eco. And when Daxter emerged from the pool of dark eco, he became an Otzel, which is a cross between a weasel and an otter. And they spend the first game trying to go about getting Daxter to be changed back. But ultimately, the man who can change him back, Gull, who used to be a sage, has fallen under the corruption of the dark eco. So, Jak and Daxter have to end up fighting him. Jak, of course, does a lot of the heavy lifting. And so, that game is very colorful, very family-friendly. The game is fun to play, and it's very child-friendly. Like, I can see probably my niece playing it, but I played it a while ago. But Jak 2 is vastly different, so a lot has changed. And so through the time travel device they found at the end of the first Jak and Daxter game, they travel to the future. Jak is captured, Daxter manages to escape, and Daxter has been trying to find Jak for a whole year but can't find him. But in the meantime, Jak has been tortured and experimented on with Dark Eco. He's essentially a guinea pig. And Jack is a lot more furious. And he actually talks, saying he's going to, his first words when Daxter finds him. And Daxter asks him to speak for once. Jack emphatically says he's going to kill Baron Praxis. He has been tortured for about a year. And he breaks out of there with Dark Eco, with the help of the Dark Eco that he can now channel due to his experiment. So Jack takes on a much darker persona in Jak 2. Jack is a lot more aggressive, of course talks and everything. Daxter, of course, is still there and still does a lot of the talking. But Jak, for the most part, are a lot more aggressive, a lot more angry, and it makes for an interesting game. But that's not necessarily why this game is seen as difficult. That's why it's seen as fun. Of course, the humor and everything from the first game carries over to the second one. And even the developers, Naughty Dog, have admitted that they have Daxter in there still as the mouthpiece for dry, boring scenes. So whenever you go to the movies, there's at least one or two scenes that are kind of dull, kind of boring, kind of dragged out a little bit, that nothing really goes on. And Daxter is there to say or do something funny to sort of keep the pace going. And they cleverly use him in there. But this game, it gets difficult, well, oftentimes because of the lack of checkpoints. So in the game, you have certain checkpoints to where if you die, and in this game, you definitely will die at least once or twice. If someone you ask who's played Jak 2 say they never died in that game, that person is a liar. When you die, you can respawn from that checkpoint. Jak 2 doesn't really have a lot of checkpoints. You get them once in a blue moon. Sometimes when you die, you can make a lot of progress, but when you die, you're going all the way back to a previous area that you may have spent 5 minutes beating, but because you died, you gotta go all the way back there and do the whole thing over again. It's a bit tedious, but it gets fun because of the gunplay and everything. There's about 4 different types of guns, and they're awesome and interesting to use. But also the difficulty comes in with some of the enemies. Now from the first game in the Precursor Legacy, Jak had 3 hit points. You could get hit 3 times, and if you died after getting hit 3 times, you could of course respawn from that checkpoint. Jak 2 is a lot more scarce with its checkpoints, but you could refill your health with green eco. Here, not as much. Jak has 8 hit points. Now that may sound like a lot, but almost every enemy, most enemies in the game, deal 2 hit points apiece. So you really have 4 hit points. And that still may sound like a lot because, of course, 4 is bigger than 3. But trust me, you're going to get hit a lot in this game. And that's what makes it kind of difficult, is that they rain on a lot of enemies and a lot of fire on you. And you're guaranteed. That's why I said you're pretty much guaranteed to die at least once, or in my case, thousands of times, because there's a lot of enemies and they're all gunning for you. So with them all gunning for you, you essentially have to be fast, and you're going to almost have a trial by fire. Or the control scheme and mechanics, for the most part, besides the gunplay, are identical to the first game, except with some new moves, of course, with the Dark Eco. So you have the Dark Eco Bomb, you have the Dark Eco Blast, and of course you have Dark Jak, which is a bit more of a powerful, more aggressive version of Jak. And it's stuff like that that keeps Jak 2 fun despite being difficult. And while it is difficult, it's still a lot of fun. I think I'm like almost halfway through it, but still loads of fun despite being difficult. But that's enough of that. We're going to move on to the second and last topic. So I told you this episode wasn't going to be that long, but we are going to talk about self-esteem. Now, truth be told, self-esteem is something that all of us have either dealt with or we know someone who's dealt with them. But what causes self-esteem to fluctuate, whether you have low or high self-esteem? Well, oftentimes what I found is that, and I'm a person who's struggled with self-esteem before, what I found is that some of the reasons that the self-esteem that we have sort of goes up and down is because we spend time comparing ourselves to other people and to the people around us and saying, well, they have this, this, and this. Why can't I have this, this, and this? And we find ourselves getting jealous of these people. Well, but in reality, it's because it's not that we see them as successful and as beautiful, even though that may be the case, but it's because we don't see ourselves as such. We haven't spent time building ourselves up. We build these other people up, but we haven't spent time building ourselves up. And that's why we find ourselves comparing ourselves to other people, because we don't see the beauty within ourselves. But I'm here to tell you, you are beautiful. You are worth it. You are lovely, fantastic, inside and out. Oh, and if you're someone who struggles with self-esteem, how you see yourself, including me, I do as well. I'm still struggling with it to this day. You just know, it's going to take some time, but eventually you will see yourself as beautiful, as someone who is worthy of love, someone who's worthy for other people to say, hey, that person is awesome, that person has it going on. You have to see yourself that way, and then you're going to show it. And other people, in turn, are going to see you the way that you see you. Oftentimes, if you see yourself as beautiful, if you carry yourself well, other people will see that go through you. But if you don't, people will see that as well. But that is about it. Like I said, not too long. So we're going to end off, of course, with next week's riddle, and that reads, what man has married many women but has never been married? Let's read that one more time. What man has married many women but has never been married? Ladies and gentlemen, that is your riddle for next week. Enjoy your days, enjoy your families and everything, and I will see you all later. Peace.